Welcome to our webinar on the ESG Investing Certificate. Before we begin, I'd like to share our upcoming calendar of webinars. We have 2 remaining webinars scheduled for July. On the 2nd of July on IFRS, Proposals for Better Communication in the Financial Statements. And on the 7th, an interactive webinar on developing your soft skills. Please note our webinars are available on replay and can be found on our YouTube channel, our website, and our LinkedIn page. We are now ready to begin our webinar. I'd like to go over a few housekeeping rules for this session. All mics and cams are turned off. Please do not switch them on, as we'd like to guarantee a decent internet connection. Today's session will be led by Patricia Donnelly and Gabriel Houette, CFA charter holders and members of our society. Marc Caddy will also be responding to any questions you may have. He is Candidates Committee Chair. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please use the chat in the meantime to ask any questions during the presentation. You'll also be able to ask questions by clicking on the raise your hand icon that's available in the participant tab. I'll then call your name so you can ask your question. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Could you all raise your hands if you understood the housekeeping rules? Wonderful, I'm starting to see a few hands. Great. All right, thank you very much. Patricia, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Patricia Donnelly. I work at BNP Paribas Asset Management in the Consultant Relations team. I got my CFA charter in 2002, and I've been involved with the society ever since then in lots of different positions, including president for 4 years. Otherwise, I was also one of the first 2 people in France to pass the ESG investing certificate. The other one was Gabriel, who will now speak. Gabriel.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Very happy to be with you today. With Patricia, we were a member of the pilot of this program last year, and that's why we wanted to share with you our experience. So let's start a bit. Let's start with more explanation about who we are. Myself, I'm a credit trader in Natixis. I'm a charter holder for now 4 years, and I'm an active member of the CFA Society France. I've accepted last year to take in charge the ESG committee, and I'm acting as a chair now this year. Some few words about the ESG committee. Our objective is to go along with the CFA Society France members and try to help them to understand a bit more the world of ESG, and to organize some different type of events for them for the best benefit, events like social events or educational events, and in Paris. Our committee this year we were 4 on this committee, myself and 3 active members of the Society France, Julien Bras, Hervé de Jong. Both of them are portfolio manager in Allianz Global Investors. They are leading the ESG funds, and especially the green bond funds. And Marina Yodis, who used to work with Mirova as a portfolio manager on the equity side. Next year, our committee will be organized differently. Marina left us because she moved unfortunately to Amsterdam for a new career, and we are reshuffling our committee, and we will look for volunteer. If you are interested, just send me an email at the end of this webinar. So Patricia, can you tell us a bit more about the CFA ecosystem, please?
Yeah, certainly. The CFA Institute, as you know, is a worldwide organization with 170,000 members, almost all of whom have passed the CFA charter. In addition to organizing the infamous CFA exam, where CFA Institute does lots of other things. They're particularly active in ethics and standards for the industry. They And there's a whole research institute which produces monographs on subjects of interest to the industry, and of course the Financial Analyst Journal, which many of you have already read. In addition to the CFA exam, they also do foundations, which is for either people that are beginning in the industry or in work in the industry, but not in portfolio management or research type functions. And they've also organized the CIPM exam in conjunction with the GIPS standards for people who work in performance measurement. CFA Institute is in addition to the central organization, also has numerous local societies. In Europe, there are several societies, I don't know how many, but in France, CFA Society France has got 1,200 members now. And we organize events, we organize advocacy, working with the main regulators. And of course, we've got several committees, including the ESG committee, which Gabriel just told us about. And I'd also mention CFA Society UK, which is the biggest society in Europe, which has 12,000 members and has a big educational activity, organizing a basic confidence exam for the UK market, the IMC, which some of you may have heard of. And since last year, they organized a certificate in ESG, which recognizing that there's a big demand for ESG training in the industry. So just as a very quick overview of what the CFA ecosystem is like. Now, if you're not already a member, how can you join this? Gabriel, perhaps you could tell us something.
Yes. To become a member of CFA Institute, there are two possibilities. You are a regular member or you are affiliate member. That means regular member, 4-year experience in finance. You have to be recognized for that, and you have to find some sponsor for that as well, some guys to testimony for you. That being said, it's not enough. You have to pay your fees. That's really important. To CFA Institute, annual fees of $370, and you have to pay your fees to the CFA Society France. They are paid directly from CFA Institute to CFA Society France. Remember that most important thing, if you are already a member, a candidate to the CFA program, you know that on the chapter 7 on the ethics, you can put only CFA after the name when you are shareholders, and that means when you are 4 years experience recognized, when you passed the 3 years exam, and then when you have paid your fees. But there is an alternative. If you are either too young, I mean, in the financial industry, if you can prove the 4 years of experience, or if you are candidates, which is really great to join us. In that case, you can apply for affiliate member. You pay the same fee, but you have to find some sponsor, and you have to file the ethic questionnaire, which is in line with, which is proposed online by the CFA Institute. So affiliate member, regular member, so join us. It's quite easy. Please have a look to the link at the bottom of the slide. That's the address to get more information regarding how to join the community of the CFA Institute. So the next slide will be much more about the partnership we have between CFA France and CFA UK. CFA UK is in charge of this program. They are in charge of the curriculum, they are in charge of the organization, and they are raising now a network of different societies in Europe who are in charge of develop and propose this curriculum and this formation to their members. For what that means for France, that means now the candidates, they have the choice of taking the exam in France. We have 8 exam centers in France, 4 in Paris, 1 in Lille, and we are committed to provide any French support for those who are interested in taking this exam. We are now discussing with the CFA Society France board of the statute of all the candidates for the certification in ESG investing. We are in discussion to grant a statute for the candidates to have access to all the CFA France events and to have access to the services provided and proposed to the members, like mentoring, career event, networking, and so on. So that's something quite important. You will get more information on that topic later this, I hope, for September, October. So stay tuned, keep in touch. Please note the address to get access and if you have any question to raise, is esg@cfafrance.org. You will get, we will try to answer quite quickly. So stay tuned with us. Thank you. The next slide is for Patricia.
Okay. So if you're interested in this CFA certification, how do you register? Firstly, it's important to note that you do not have to be a charter holder. You don't even need to have passed level 1 or even have registered for a CFA exam before. You don't need to be a member of CFA France. Anybody can do it. And there are no prerequisites. It's clearly better to have a background in finance, otherwise a lot of it will be pretty difficult. So anybody listening to this webinar should be able to register. How do you do it? It's very simple. You just go onto the CFA UK website. There's a link on the screen in front of you. Fill out the form and pay the registration fee, which is £470. And in addition, if you want a paper book as opposed to an ebook, it'll cost you £30 extra, and I seriously recommend it, partly because it's easier to read and partly because you'll want to have it sitting on your bookcase afterwards to refer to. It's a really well done book, in my opinion. Now, you may want to ask if you can get this paid for by your DIF or CF or other. Unfortunately not, because it's a program which you prepare on your own. There are no teachers, there's no présentiel, as I say, so that your HR can pay for it, but out of their training budget, but they cannot get it covered by the DIF. That said, considering the price of other ESG trainings available on the Paris market currently, £500 is really not an awful lot, considering the quality of what you get. If you want more information before you register, there's a link at the bottom of the page which you can click on and get more information. Gabriel, could you tell us something about what you learn?
Let's talk about the curriculum. Curriculum is shared in 3 parts. The first one is analysis, the second one is action, and the third one is management. Analysis, it won't be a big surprise for you. We will discuss a lot about E, S, and G, what is environmental, social, governance, and as well, which is a big part, which is the knowledge and the understanding of the ecosystem of the ESG. In my experience, those ecosystem is not that easy to understand, and it takes a lot of time to understand how it works, especially on the different part of the world. The second part is action. Action, it's a part which was honestly new for me, coming from the fixed income world. It's engagement and stewardship. This part is really important, is definitely linked to the PRI principle, the fact to be an active shareholder, an active stakeholder, and to have a view and to engage with discussion with the management of the companies on the best interest of your customer. That's something really important. That's one of the biggest, and according to me, the biggest and the most complete chapter of this curriculum. The third part is management, is mainly related to how to deal with your customer, how to integrate the ESG in your portfolio, and how to do that depending on the different type of management you want to do on your portfolio. For this curriculum, you have to count something like 100 hours of homeworking. It's quite a lot of paper to read, and a lot of complementary research to make. Don't forget that on all the material that's going to be proposed, there will be a lot of link to external resources, like web page on web page for the United Nations, web page for the European Commission, and so on. And all these documents have to be read. So even if the book is not that big, the full material to be read and to be understood at the end of the curriculum is quite relevant. So make no mistake, just prepare 1 hour homeworking before taking the exam. The next slide is about the calendar, and that's for Patricia. Explain us a bit more about the timing.
Yeah. So once you've registered, what do you do now? So you've got 12 months to prepare the exam before the registration expires. But you may say that given that we've got coronavirus, there has been an extension, so that, and there's also an opportunity to sit the exam at home, which we'll tell you about later. Now, if you do want to sit it in a test center, there are, as Gabriel was saying, there are 4 in Paris and 4 elsewhere in France. It should take you about 100 hours of preparation, so that to give you an estimate about how many weeks or how many months. It took me about 2 months, 2.5 months, but it was across the summer, so I could spend some of my vacation working on it. The syllabus is revised maybe once a year or so. The first version came out last year. The second version will be coming out in any day now. It will be valid starting in September. So that, yes, the second version has been available since May. So that if you register now, you'll go straight into the second version. So Gabriel, do you want to say something about the exam?
Yeah, sure. For the exam, you have 2 possibilities now. Something quite new and quite a type of innovation has been made this year. The last quarter, thanks to the COVID, if I may say. You have 2 options. You can take the exam on person view exam center. You have the picture of. It's not really funny, but anyway, you are in a box. You have only 1 screen, 1 mouse. The proctor will be quite severe. It's not a big surprise if you are already in use with the CFA protocol for the CFA program. You are allowed to have nothing with you except nothing. Even you don't even have the right to have a pen or a sheet of paper. You have nothing. No watch, nothing.
Yeah,
And
you have to empty your pockets in front of them.
Exactly,
sure.
And you have to give the watch to the proctor. He will put it in a safe because they are scared that maybe you can be a cheater. So anyway, so that's the person view center exam. 8 in France. You arrive. You need 20 minutes or 30 minutes to register. You're in front of your screen. You start whenever you want. At the end, the screen is white, so it's over, and you will receive within 1 month the results. Because of the COVID virus and the fact that the person view center exam were closed, they have decided to test the remote proctoring. Remote proctoring, that means everybody is supposed to be allowed to take the exam at home. For that means you have a minimum requirement on the operational system on your computer, the last version, and you have a webcam. The proctor will have access and will proctor 15 different candidates. So he will see everything on the room. You have to download a software which has been created by Pearson VUE. I think it's called OneView, and this software will block your computer. That means you can't download in the meantime of taking the exam some documents or whatsoever. So you will be blocked. You will have only access with your computer to the exam questionnaire. That means you need to be on a room which is empty. You need to have on your desk nothing. It has to be totally clean, and you have to show and to move the camera on 360 degrees in order to show to the proctor that you have nothing on the roof, on the floor, on the walls, the sheet of paper, and so on. And as soon as you have the go, you're gonna start your exam. Same timing granted, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes. The format of the exam for those who are already candidates for level 2 on CFA, it's exactly the same format. It's a mix of item set, which is some cases proposed by the CFA UK, and on the cases you have 4 to 6 questions, and for each question you have 4 answers. Only one is good. So it's a mix of direct question and item set questions. So it's not a big deal. We put a link on this slide. Go on it, and you will see some example of the type of question and how to answer to this question. So now the next slide, we're going to talk about the advantage of this exam. It's a big plus for the career, honestly. It's a big plus. We are, all of us were doing that in order to be recognized, to be more visible, and it works. It works for your employer, it works for the community, it works for a lot of things. When you are graduated, you will receive a diploma, paper diploma. Very nice. It's another one close to the CFA program is good to have a second one. And you have also an electronic badge you can use on the LinkedIn. That means you are visible for the full community, which is perfect. Don't forget that the networking is an international networking, because 9 CFA societies are partner of this program. That means you are visible not only in France, you are visible in UK, Denmark, Finland, and so on, which is good. And the last but not the least, as we used to say, this certification is supported by the United Nations Principle for Responsible Investments, the PRI, which is, you will see when we'll have finished the book, which is the top of the institutions in terms of governance for ESG. So it's a good support, it's a good recognition at the top level. So regarding the curriculum updates, the curriculum is revised every year. Some new elements are added, some others are remoted, but the most important thing is that they want to improve the educational logic. So the the revision of the curriculum is much more based on how to make it easier, better to understand and to learn, rather to how to add some specific, totally new, which could be difficult to understand in order to make some differences between candidates. No, it's not at all like that. It's really on a educational logic that they want to improve. That's why they've decided to start the new syllabus number 2, the version 2, which will be tested since the 1st of September. Very few differences in terms of knowledge. Only 6 points, which are very small, are added from the syllabus 2 and syllabus 1. Is much more regarding how the chapter are organized between them, the loss, are they logical, and can we simplify a bit the wording as well. After the pilot, we have been surveyed by the CFA UK in order to testimony what we have thought about this the program and the materials that were released. And we, all of us from the pilot program, made our commentaries stating that maybe this point has been redundant because we use it on the chapter 1, chapter 3, chapter 5, make no sense, and so on. That's why they took in account what we said and to organize something better. Whatever going to happen is not a big deal for you, because I do reckon that if you are considering starting the program, we will pass the under the version 2, which is quite important when you are booking or register for the exam. And if you choose the hard copy, which is the book, you have to pay 30 sterling to get it. Be sure that you are ordering the version 2 of the book and not the version 1, in order to be exactly linked to that. But whatever going to happen, you will find the 2 versions, version 1 and version 2, on the material which is proposed online by the CFA UK. For those who really wants to share that, we put at the end the link to see the discrepancies, the main differences between the syllabus 1 and syllabus 2.
So I think this is the end of the presentation now. Marie-Alix, could you open the lines to questions?
Absolutely. So the presentation will be available after the webinar, and you'll be able to watch it on replay. We do have 2 appendixes, so you can click on links if you have any additional questions. Before moving on to questions, though, Mark, please, if you take the floor and talk a bit about becoming a candidate member.
Sure. As I'm Mark Cady, I'm the chair of the candidates committee, a board member, and I work here in Paris as a private equity consultant. Been involved with the society for 6 years now. I've chaired the candidates committee for either 4 or 5 of those, and I've been an elected board member for 3 years as well, just as a bit of a background. The candidates, so we're working, as Gabriel alluded, we're working at the board level to come up with a solution to allow ESG certificate holders membership to CFA Society France. What it's looking like now is that will be tied in with the candidate and local membership, which this slide details the benefits of that membership. So it was designed for regular CFA exam members. So what is included in candidate membership is that at the CFA France level, not the institute level, which is what the slide earlier on was about, you would have access to all of our local events. So those are typically speaker series. with a social event afterwards, usually an hour or so of wine, petit four, and networking. Our mentorship program, our volunteering program, career development, which we've begun doing much more with over the past couple of years, and then what's relevant to the candidates themselves is that in addition to the normal programming, all candidate events which carry a charge, typically mock exams and workshops, which we put on for each level, typically 2 per cycle. Those would be included for free in your candidate membership. So it's €70, bearing in mind that candidates typically are fresh out of school or often graduate students. We decided to set the fee to a lower figure than our regular membership. The goal being that that candidates become early members of the society, engaged, particularly in volunteering and supporting our programming. And what you'd receive out of that is, of course, additional support in earning your charter.
Thanks, Mark. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. There are no questions in the chat. Please feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions and speak up. No questions? All right, everything seems to be clear. Are there any, Patricia?
I was just going to see I just saw a note splashed across the screen about why is the US not involved? I presume you mean why is CFA Institute not involved? Because for the moment, this was an initiative by CFA UK. I think that the CFA Institute is watching to see how it's received, and it's not to be excluded that at some point that they'll take this over. But for the moment, this is just it's based out of the UK and mainly aimed at Europe, but not exclusively. So a candidate, somebody living in the US who wanted to sit the exam can still do so.
If I can add as well something regarding that point, this process and this new certification is a bottom-up process. I think the CFA UK had to answer to the demand from the members who wanted to be educated on the ESG topics. And because they have a massive demand from their members and from their societies, the ecosystem in the UK, that they decided to create this certification. That's why it's quite interesting, because it's really a bottom-up process from the needs on the ground to the top management, and not the reverse. It's not something that has been asked by the big institutions like the CFA Institute and deployed after on the ground. It has to really and the big success of this certification is because it definitely answers the question.
Thanks, Gabriel and Patricia. Are there any questions? So I see one. How long does it take to prepare for the certification? So I think you can go over that quickly. And do you know when exactly the book for Syllabus 2 will be available? Initially scheduled for May, June. It seems to be difficult to sign up without the book.
I had a call with them, with CFA UK. Maybe they have some delay due to the lockdown in their country. They told me that the syllabus 2 is available online. You have to understand that even if you choose the book, you will have access to the online material, which is exactly the book, but on the website. Exactly the same material, the same loss, the same wording, the same question, the same examples, and so on. So whatever gonna happen, you can start with using the online material and waiting for the book. The book was supposed to be printed mid-June, 2 weeks ago, and when you have to consider 12 days for the delivery. And I don't have any further information regarding what will happen to the book. But whatever gonna happen, you can start with the online version.
Thanks, Gabriel. We also have a question. If we are interested in the curriculum but do not want to take the exam, is it possible to order only the book if we are already CFA members?
No.
No registration, no book.
Yeah.
Very clear. And when is the next session for the exam?
Well, the session is permanent. That once you register, there's, I think, a minimum of 1 month where they assume that you have to read the book, and then after that you can register. You can sit the exam whenever you like. So that if you registered today, you could sit the exam as of the beginning of August from home, or if one of the centers is open, then you can sit it from one of the centers. It's very much up to you. It's not like the CFA exam with one exam day.
And if I can add some precision as well, you have to bear in mind that it's quite efficient. I mean, you need only 3 days to change your dates. Imagine you register for the 1st of September, and suddenly you know that you won't be available as a date. You want to postpone to the 15th of September. It's not an issue, as long they need 3 days notice period. So, and you are in charge of that, because the CFA UK won't do that for you. You will be directly linked to the Pearson VUE, because you will have a personal account with Pearson VUE, and you will be able to do it on your own. But just count 3 days to change 2 dates of the exam. That's the same process for if you choose remote proctoring. You can change the date of your exam, but you have to count 3 days between 2 dates. And even if you pass the exam, if you take the exam and you fail, you can pass again the exam within 3 days.
Thanks, Gabriel. We have another question. Could you clarify once again when the syllabus will change? Do you have an indication of how big or small the changes will be?
The syllabus will be tested. Only the syllabus 2 will be tested from the 1st of September. That's very clear. 1st of September, there is no syllabus 1, only syllabus 2. The differences between the two syllabuses is very small. That was one of the previous slide. You add on the presentation the link to the CFA UK website, where you can find all the differences between the two syllabus. Most of the differences are on educational logical, not on the knowledge. Only 6 points are changing between the two syllabus, which is not a lot, almost nothing. Regarding the syllabus, when I said previously, you have always access to the syllabus 2, because when you register to the exam, you will have access to all the available version of the syllabus online. That means on the CFA UK website, with your personal account, you will have access to the syllabus 1 and syllabus 2. The only issue, if you have the book, of course, if you paid for the syllabus 1, you will get only the syllabus 1. You won't receive a new book for the syllabus 2. So it's up to you to know if you want to take the exam before the 1st of September, or if you want to take the exam after the 1st of September. If you want to take the exam after the 1st of September, it's not a big deal. Take the syllabus 2, that's it. If you want to order the hard copy, which is the book, take the version 2, and you will be fine.
Thanks, Gabriel. We have another question. What percentage of correct answers is required to succeed in the exam?
Alors,
70%, 75%.
Yes, they are not really happy to communicate about it. You have to understand it's something between 65, 75. It depends on the exam, because all the exams are different because they are on an electronic format. I'm not sure that the two people will get exactly the same exam. Some question will be more difficult than some others, and that's why they do apply a kind of barème, a kind of weighting factor in order to compensate. That's why it could be 65%, it could be 70%, it could be 75%, but it's a bit like for the CFA program. If you want to be comfortable with your exam, consider 70% and you will be fine.
Thanks, Gabriel. So I think that's about it for questions. We do have a bit of time. Feel free to ask any more questions. A few came in just to be precise. So if you don't pass it, you can take it again as many times as you'd like. And Gabriel, perhaps you want to mention that this is independent from the 3 levels of CFA.
Yeah. I mean,
so many questions are asking, can we take the exam even if we haven't passed all 3 levels?
Of course.
I can take that one. Yeah, if you don't want to, that's fine.
Yes, do it, Mark.
No, it's encouraged. They're viewed by both CFA France, CFA UK as being independent of the normal exam process. The sort of strategic direction that local societies are heading is that they want to assert a little bit more independence from the central authority, which is the CFA Institute. So there are other societies are doing things. So this is quite an innovation for a society to come up with their own certification. And after Patricia and Gabriel had taken the exam and had brought positive feedback, the board began working with the board of the UK to formalize our agreement and begin offering the exam to people living in France at French sites, at French testing sites. It's 100% independent. I think one of our big hopes during with the exams being postponed as they are, for those of you who are candidates on the call, you're acutely aware of this, was that candidates would look into this exam, and then obviously for members it's not really an issue unless you're taking a different exam, different certification. But the idea here is that we support this at the local level, and that it shouldn't be viewed separate. It shouldn't be viewed together at all with earning the charter.
Thanks, Mark. We do have another question, very interesting. Have you got any advice for the exam? What is one thing you would do differently if you could go back?
When we took the exam during the pilot program, we were missing some mock exam. When it's all about the format of the question. If you work continually, consistency, if you work hard, it's not a big issue because you will have all the knowledge you need. The main surprise could come from the format of the question, and that's why it's quite important to train. And when you pass, when you take the CFA program level 1, 2, or 3, you used to train with some QBank, And we were missing the QBank. We were missing some mock exam from the previous year in order to train. We only had one, and that's why I was not that comfortable when I took the exam. It went fine because we work well, but some questions were not that easy to understand exactly what they want and the way of thinking, because which is it's a common CFA program in the way that you are testing on your ability to think and to judge the situations, and that's why it's not that easy. It's not only, there is not a lot of computations. You don't need to have a calculator with you. You don't need to have anything with you. You have to think, you have to judge the situation. And that's why at some point you need to train just to have some controversy.
The one thing I would change if I could is to pay a lot of attention to everything. That there are questions which were based on one sentence in the book, so that nothing is superfluous. Everything needs to be read and learned.
And don't forget to open and to go to the external reading, to the further reading with all the links to the web page. And there are a lot in the books. All those kind of links. Do it, even if it's a lot. You have to do it. I think that's why. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, even though they don't test what is in the links, if you click on the links, it reinforces what is in the book, which makes the book that much. It makes it easier to learn.
Yeah, the further reading won't be tested. Has to be clear. You won't be tested on something which is not in the book. But how to understand perfectly well what is in the book if you don't read the further reading, according to me, it won't work like that. Especially when you have to judge a situation.
Thanks, Gabriel and Patricia. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for joining. The presentation and replay will be available through our LinkedIn, our YouTube, and our website pages. Feel free to ask any questions and send an email to esg@cfafrance.org. And if you have candidate or member related questions, feel free to email them to candidates@cfafrance.org. Thank you all for your time and have a great evening.